What's up, everybody? We're back with another update on our 2017 Jeep Wrangler JK, which we bought almost a year ago from a Jeep dealership in Southern Oregon. This is probably the first big mod we've done that aligns with the build plans that we posted on the channel a while back, but the short version is I need some high clearance fenders. Now, I'm a big fan of the looks of some of the aftermarket tubular metal fenders available on the market, especially the metal cloak fenders. Those look awesome. However, it's difficult for me to completely ignore the advice of one of my favorite off-road fabricators and YouTube personalities.
Those big metal fenders just bolted to the stock stuff has always kind of weirded me out, because like you go and plow that thing into a rock and it's just gonna like damage a bunch of the real structure. You can hit this on a rock and it'll just flex or deflect, and hopefully you don't end up damaging the rig.
So I opted to order some polyurethane fenders from a company called KBD. They come in a relatively small box that's probably just big enough to irritate your local package delivery person. This fender kit comes with an instruction sheet that's mostly complete. We'll talk about that later. I started the process by removing the front inner fenders. You'll want to remove these bolts here, 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 and here with a 10mm socket, as well as the 6-bolt here hidden up in the inner fender that I'm fumbling around for. Now, in theory, after removing those 6 bolts, you should just be able to pull the front fender away from the body, breaking the plastic retaining clips in the process. That is, of course, unless you forgot to disconnect the side marker light and pull the wiring harness. That harness is further attached to the inner fender with a factory zip tie. I ended up just cutting the zip tie and pulling the harness completely out since I wasn't trying to save the inner fender. With that out of the way, you can give your 12-year-old the green light to rip the rest of it off. Pull hard. Yep. To remove any remaining plastic clips, you're going to grab a pair of needle nose pliers or a similar tool and work to the back of the clip behind the fender and try to squeeze these two flexible locking tabs together from the back side. Next, you're going to want to locate the hardware bags that come with this kit, and you're going to start with this bag of white plastic square-shaped screw anchors. And that's kind of a square peg in a round hole kind of situation, but these square plastic screw anchors do fit into the round holes that previously held the plastic retaining clips. Honestly, you're probably looking at the most difficult part of the install right here. It takes a ton of pressure to push these plastic screw anchors into place. Both of my thumbs were trashed after I got done with just the first front fender. And while the printed instruction sheet that comes with this kit has a photo that shows every one of these round holes getting a screw anchor, my fenders themselves were not pre-drilled for this particular hole right here, so I skipped it. Once all of the screw anchors are installed, you're going to locate the appropriate side front fender, mock it up into place, and then start to thread in the mounting screws through each of the mounting holes. You're going to want to loosely install all of the screws first, just so there's enough flexibility remaining in the fender itself that you can move things out of the way to get the screwdriver shaft onto the head of the fastener. And I will say this small 90-degree Phillips screwdriver was a lifesaver when it came to actually making a secondary pass and tightening all of these mounting screws down. In this shot right here, you can start to get a quick sense for just how much more clearance these KBD fenders offer as compared to the stock fenders. The instruction sheet included with the KBD kit does not speak to the removal of the rear fender, so I had to get a little creative. There are some plastic push rivets that attach the lower inner fender to the tub of the Jeep. I was able to reach in over the tire and pry those 2 or 3 push rivets loose. After that, I was just basically able to rip the entire rear fender assembly away from the body. You are going to expose more of those plastic clips. You'll need to get a pair of pliers or something and rip those out from the front side. The rear fender has quite a bit more structure to it than the lip of the front fender, and as a result, I felt comfortable using a hammer to lightly and methodically tap in those screw anchors because, frankly, my thumb pads were way too sore to do both of the rear fenders as well. The most difficult screw, hands down, to access and tighten is this very last screw, or the rearward screw closest to the rear bumper on the rear fenders. This is kind of my cheat code for this video, but I used a small die grinder to basically put a notch right here in the lower part of the rear fender and just create a little extra space to slip in that screwdriver and tighten that mounting screw. I think it works great and doesn't seem to really affect the structure of the fender. The installation process is basically just rinse and repeat on the other side of the vehicle. I did hit a bit of a speed bump trying to remove this front fender because I discovered that Grady forgot to remove one of the 6 mounting screws, unless that was just some genius level prank on his part. KBD does include 2 LED side marker lights, and if you want to install them, it requires drilling a 3/4 inch hole in each of the front fenders. They do have the spot that you want to drill pre-marked or pre-dimpled, which is a nice feature. I ended up ordering a set of marker lights from Metal Cloak, and I think it's the same light. However, the Metal Cloak lights have more epoxy sealing around the light bulb itself, as well as thicker gauge wire, so it was a worthwhile upgrade to me. I was a little surprised by how much mud and dirt and crap was trapped behind and under the inner fenders after we removed them to install these new KBD fenders, so I had to satisfy my OCD a little bit and run it down to the local car wash to spray out the fender wells. Our decision to run these polyurethane fenders certainly isn't a knock on anybody's running those metal tube fenders. I'm just going to say that this is a cheaper option that's most definitely lighter, and I think it has its own benefits. Overall, I'm happy with the fit and finish of this KBD kit, and I'm curious to see how they're going to hold up long term. Speaking of long term, we've got more Jeep JK build videos coming your way. Until then, thanks for watching Trash Panic Garage, and until the next one, get out there, build something.